Have you ever felt a yes so strong in your stomach? It felt more real than any logic? Or a sudden, unexplainable no, and then days later you realized it actually saved you? Now imagine this. What if those weren't just feelings? What if they were signals, tiny, silent, invisible, coming from a deeper layer of reality? Today we're stepping into an idea that will make you look at your life with completely different eyes. What if intuition is a language? A language made of coincidences, inner jolts, synchronicities, and breadcrumbs that feel like they were placed on your path. Stay with me, because by the end I'll give you a simple method to tell real intuition apart from anxiety, fear, and self-sabotage. Let's start with an uncomfortable truth. Most people confuse intuition with impulse. Anxiety says, run, control, react now. The ego says, prove yourself, win, don't lose. Trauma says, don't trust, you'll get hurt. But intuition is different. Intuition is often simple, clean, essential. It doesn't scream. It doesn't push. It doesn't create confusion. It's like a compass that points in one direction, period. And yet, how many times have you ignored it? How many times have you said, it's probably nothing? And then later you caught yourself thinking, I knew it. So the question becomes unavoidable. Where does that information come from if you didn't think it? We need clarity here. Quantum physics is real science, but online it's often turned into magic. What we can honestly say is this: in the microscopic world there are phenomena that remind us reality is more connected, and less linear, than we assume. Ideas like superposition, meaning multiple possibilities at once, probability, meaning not everything is deterministic, and non-intuitive connections that seem to challenge the simple only here and now. Now, I'm not saying your mind controls particles. I'm saying something more useful, more practical, and more true in everyday life. Your attention selects the reality you experience. If you tune into fear and lack, you'll notice signs that confirm fear and lack. If you tune into possibility and openness, you'll start noticing opportunities that used to be invisible. And that alone is a massive power. Now let's make this real, with 3 examples that, if you think about it, have probably happened to you at least once. First example, someone you haven't heard from in years suddenly pops into your mind. Not a random thought, a flash. A presence. You think, that's weird, and a few hours later they show up. A text. A call. A chance encounter. The rational mind says, coincidence. But inside, you feel something else. Like your system picked up a signal before it became visible. And that leads to a powerful question. What if intuition is, in part, your ability to sense micro-information your conscious mind can't translate yet? Second example, you're about to say yes to something. A job, a deal, a project, a relationship. On paper, everything looks perfect. Yet deep down there's a tiny discord. Not panic. Not loud anxiety. A thin thread. A subtle closing, like your body whispering, this isn't aligned. And maybe you don't listen. You move forward anyway. Later you discover a detail you didn't see, a lie, an empty promise, a toxic context. And suddenly that first feeling makes sense. It wasn't fear. It was information you didn't have words for yet. Third example, you're facing a choice and suddenly everything simplifies. Not because you checked 1,000 times, but because something inside lines up. And the right choice has a specific taste, not hype, peace. Not adrenaline, clarity. Like your mind stops pulling and your body says, okay. Here. That matters because it reveals something important. Real intuition tends to carry stability. It doesn't drain you. It orients you. And here's something almost nobody explains well. Many people think they have no intuition, but the problem is different. The signal is covered by noise. Noise can be stress, sleep deprivation, hypervigilance, too much caffeine, too much pressure, too many expectations, or simply the habit of living rushed. When you're constantly on alert, your system can't tell a subtle signal from a repetitive thought. It's like trying to hear a radio while traffic is blasting in your ears. That's why the first quantum skill, if we want to call it that, isn't manifesting. It's reducing the noise. Here's a micro practice you can do right now, even as you listen. Take 3 slow breaths. Inhale through the nose. Exhale longer than the inhale. Again. And again. Now notice, Did your body soften even 5%? Perfect. In that 5%, the signal becomes easier to read. Because intuition isn't something you add. It's something that emerges when you stop being at war. And now the most useful difference of all, anxiety pushes you into urgency. Intuition moves you toward precision. Anxiety wants to close the loop fast just to feel safe. Intuition wants you to notice the missing detail. And often that detail changes everything. If you feel like you can't hear anything, try this question: what am I avoiding seeing? A lot of the time, intuition isn't a mystical voice. It's a simple truth you don't want to accept yet. Now let's talk about another delicate point: the risk of turning everything into signs. Yes, synchronicities happen, but if you start hunting them from anxiety, you ruin them. It's like checking your phone every 30 seconds for a message. You're telling your system, I don't trust. The most powerful move is this: enter a clear inner state, then live. Let coincidences arrive as feedback, not as obsession. Here's a simple gold rule: a useful signal makes you more present, calmer, clearer. A signal that makes you dependent, agitated, obsessive isn't guidance, it's compulsion. So if you notice you're chasing reassurance, stop. Breathe. Come back to the body. Because when your body is regulated, it's the most reliable antenna you have. One last thing, and this is priceless: intuition doesn't always give you the full answer. Sometimes it gives you only the next step. A tiny message: text that person, delay this decision, take a walk, don't sign today. If you respect it, step 2 arrives. If you ignore it, the signal fades. Not because the universe punishes you, but because you chose not to listen. It's a relationship. And like any relationship, it's built on trust. Carl Jung called this synchronicity, meaningful coincidences. Not random events, but moments that seem to respond to what you're living inside. And let me ask you, have you ever thought intensely about someone? And then received a message from them? Or noticed the same theme repeating everywhere in a single day: a phrase, a number, a song, a name? The rational mind says, just chance. But there's another possibility: maybe it's feedback. As if reality, when you're in a certain inner state, shows you a more talkative mirror. And here's the key point: synchronicities tend to increase when you're in coherence. When you're not forcing. When you're not chasing. When you're present. You know that feeling when you're in flow? You do the right thing at the right time. You say the right words. You meet the right person. And it feels almost inevitable. That state has a signature: the mind is quieter, the body is more regulated, attention is sharper, decisions are simpler. Flow is like a doorway: once you step in, you become more receptive to subtle signals. And those subtle signals are often the difference between surviving and evolving. Premonitions are a delicate topic, so we need balance. Yes, people report premonitions, but we can't fall into two traps: believing everything without filters, or rejecting everything out of fear of sounding naive. The key idea is this: rather than seeing the future, many premonitions could be a reading of probabilities. Your brain and body register microsignals, tone of voice, inconsistencies, atmosphere, details the rational mind doesn't process, yet the system feels them. And sometimes that feeling arrives as a clean sentence: don't do it. Go. Not yet. This person is a doorway. Now I'm giving you a practical test, because if you want to decode these whispers, you must separate anxiety from intuition. Anxiety is urgent, repetitive, pressuring, control-seeking, draining. Intuition is clear, simple, unhurried. It doesn't need to convince you, and it calms you, even when it calls you to be brave. Try this 3-step practice: pause for 20 seconds, breathe, put one hand on your chest. If your body tightens, don't decide. Then ask one precise question: if I weren't afraid, what would I choose? Or, what would the best version of me choose right now? Finally, look for coherence. The right choice often brings a deep okay. Not hype. Not adrenaline. A quiet yes. But remember, signals aren't an oracle. They're a compass. Don't chase numbers, phrases, coincidences as if everything must be a message. Use them as confirmation when you're already listening, as an invitation to slow down and observe, as feedback on your inner state. If a synchronicity opens your heart and makes you more present, it's useful. If it makes you obsessive and dependent, it's not guidance, It's escape. And now I'll leave you with the strongest question of all. What was the most important decision of your life that you didn't make with your head, but with a knowing? Write it in the comments, even in one line. And write one word you want to embody this week: trust, clarity, courage, presence, flow. If you want more videos on intuition, synchronicity, the quantum field, and coherence, no fluff, only practical tools, subscribe and turn on notifications at a quantum mind frequency. In the next episode, I'll show you how to create more synchronicities on purpose, without superstition, just inner state, attention, and coherent choices.